day after day, but all right, I'll try to wake us up. So just out of curiosity, show of hands, who here is a patient care coordinator? Okay. Who here works for a practice where the doctor is the patient care coordinator? Good answer. Okay, so I was asked to talk about the patient's perspective, and then I thought, okay, the patient's perspective on what? And then I thought, what's the most important perspective we have? And that is converting a patient who's interested in aesthetic services, and they need to go all the way to saying, yes, you're the person I want to go to. So I'm going to talk about the consultation from the perspective of the patient. And this came about from just years of doing this. I've been to so many practices. I've talked to so many aesthetic patients. And as you know, if you haven't read the book, it's all about me interviewing the patients, asking them what they wanted, what they didn't want, why they chose you or somebody else. And this talk is a very pragmatic, this is what I know that works very well in a consultation. Take bits of it, take all of it. Every practice is different, the dynamics are different, the personalities are different, but human beings are the same, I will tell you that. You cannot keep saying, but my practice is different. I swear, we're all humans. So I'm going to add some of that into this talk, and this I know to be true for one of the best conversion processes for a consultation. So let's get started. What's the psychology of an aesthetic patient? If you think about it, all they're doing is, while you're talking, click, 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 the cost-benefit analysis. Is what you're saying to me going to be worth the time, the money, and the hassle to do this? So always remember that that's what they're thinking in their minds. No matter what you're saying, they're just doing that balance. Is this really what I want? Is there a value here? There's logical wants and needs, and they're emotional. When you say to them, oh, what brings you in here? What do they say to you? Very logical, obvious things. I have a wedding coming up. My sister's getting married, I'm going to a baby shower, my husband just left me, you know, things like that. But what's the emotions behind that? It is, I'm not feeling good, things are not going well, or they're not going well as they used to, I'm not feeling special, I don't feel like I matter, I'm uncomfortable with something about me that's making me uncomfortable. So if you look at it from that perspective, you kind of have an insecure being in front of you saying to you, but they're not going to say that. I mean, who says, oh, I'm not feeling good about myself, I have no confidence? They're not going to say it like that. They're going to stay with that practical, I have a wedding coming up. But just know the underlying issues to that are, I'm just not feeling good here, and I want to feel happier. Do you know what our number one human motive is? To be happy. Do you know that? Is to be happy. We think, or an aesthetic patient thinks, that if they look better, they're going to feel better, and that's going to make them happy. So it's good to remember. So how are decisions made? Here are very specific. Decisions are quickly reached by emotion and then justified with logic. And if you think about that, that's true. When you make a decision, think about how you're making it. You're doing it with emotion more than you realize. There's no logic in decision making, actually. Patients act on prejudices, habits, and past experiences much more than on factual knowledge. And this is a very important distinction, because one thing I'm going to ask is, what do you think you know already? You want to find out, what are their prejudices? What are their habits? Is their habit to shop all over town? Or is their habit to make a quick decision right then and there? It's important to know these kind of things. It takes a patient a split second to make a decision, but getting ready to make that decision can take a long time. And in the book, for surgical procedures, it took them at least 2 years to think about it, but then they were ready to go. And same thing with injectables. It might have taken them a couple months, couple years to think about it, but then they really wanted something right that second. So the decision-making process, as everyone noticed, it has gotten so confusing. It's so confusing. There's so many choices. There's so much information out there. The patient's not only, now think about the patient's perspective. Not only is he or she uncomfortable with something about them that's making them unhappy, but on top of that, they've got all this information, and they're trying to figure out, do I go to this guy who does really good advertising outside? Do I go to the spa because it looks like it's real swanky and it looks really cool? Do I go to my dermatologist because I've been going there for 20 years and they would be the right person to go to? Do I go to the mall because I'm shopping anyway and just get it done. I mean, you really have to think about the confusion involved in all of this. You live in it every day. An aesthetic patient, we live in a different world here. The aesthetic patient does not live, eat, and sleep aesthetics like we do. So it's confusing, a lot of information, and just remember now, not only are they unhappy, and see how the list keeps going, not only are they unhappy, they're not sure of themselves, they're looking for information, and now they're confused on top of that. What they really, really want, after they decided, yes, I want this, the next big one, the big gorilla in the, or what's it called, elephant? What animal's in the middle of the room? Elephant? They want no regret. You know, when you make a decision, what's the worst thing you do is go, that buyer's remorse. Oh my God, why did I do that? You never want them to feel that. So you're trying to take that away now while they're still making that decision, because that's the little thing in their head going, God, am I going to regret this? God, is this the right decision? Do I feel good about this decision? Do I feel clear about this decision? Like, what is it I'm saying yes to? And by the way, any patient who is fearful, uncertain, or confused equals a no. So there's a good chance if you get to the end of this process that I'll lay out here and they say, I got to think about it, there's a really good chance they're stuck here. They're still afraid of something, they're confused about something, or they're just not certain you're the right answer for them. So try to keep that in mind when you hear that, I got to think about it. So let's look at the consultation process. In the good old days, you were able to take a patient from 0 to 60 in about an hour or less, if you think about it. Patients were just, we were just doing sheer volume, right? Patients were just hitting an ad, coming in, doing the consultation, and then saying yes or no. That, whatever that's called, is over. This is too fast. A human being does not typically make decisions that fast. Trust me on this one. I market to doctors. The doctors are the last people who act this fast. People aren't wired like that. People want to edge in, smoothly move into a decision. This is too fast, it's too abrupt, it's too aggressive, and that's why people feel salesy or pushed, because this is too much. What they want is a trusting relationship with you. They want to feel, and I know the men in the room will love this, we're all about feelings. They want to feel understood by you. They want to feel trust. They want to feel like you're credible, that you really care about them. And you don't do that in 20 minutes. It takes a minute to do that. And you don't have to be their best friend, but they do need to feel understood, special. I'll tell you, the word special comes up a lot. People want to feel special, or they want to feel like they matter to the world. So a relationship with you is kind of where they're going with, not kind of, that's where they're going. So here's what I say, set the stage for a successful patient consultation. Now, how do we do that? And we know, you guys have heard about this phone to death, and the phones just can't be more important. The phones are everything to us, because let's say you did do external marketing, and let's say you have these internet, all this internet stuff going on. You better get very good at this part, because at this point, you're talking to strangers. They don't know you from Adam. So you better get good at this if that's how you want to run a practice. If you want a bunch of strangers coming in your practice, you need to take them from, I don't know you from Adam, to, sure, I'd love to do a $10,000 procedure with you. So the phone is everything. Hire that person, train them well, script them tightly. They can, I'll tell you what, we do mystery shopping all day long in my business, and I have to tell you, I have 5 things. By the way, if you want, email me and I'll give you this laminated form that we give our clients. 5 things. And frankly, I'm not going to tell you what they are right now, but it's just, if your receptionist could just get good at the 5 things, you're golden. Because on the mystery shopping we've done, not one practice in 10, 12 years has ever done all 5 things. That's crazy. It's very simple, actually, if you're scripted and you have a plan and you have a guide right in front of you. So you want to bond with the caller, you want to get their name, get their contact information, and ask for the appointment. Nobody ever asks for the appointment. I shouldn't say nobody. Allergan's numbers were better than ours have been. I would say 95% do not ask for an appointment ever. But now, why are you getting their contact information? because to ask for an appointment, you're going to ask, and then they're going to say, you know what, I'm not sure yet if I'm ready to make an appointment. What's your next thing? What did we say yesterday? Ask a question with a question. Say, you know what, why don't we do this? Sarah, let me go ahead and send you some information about us. It'll help you make a decision, and then I can always follow up. Did you prefer I email it or mail it to you? She's going to give you a choice. Frankly, I'd rather go with the mail because here's what I know to be true. Everyone calls it a welcome packet. I call it a shock and awe package. This is what can set you apart. If any of you ever want to call my office and say you want some consulting services, watch what happens. You get something very quickly in the mail, and it's super impressive. It's got the Meet the Doc. Not in my packet, in your packet. It's got the Meet the Doc, and it's got the association logos, it's got your credentials, everything that you want to say about you, because it's important that you point out why you're more skilled than somebody else. The doctors who go a step further are the doctors who also add why you want 10 reasons why you want to go with, or why you want to say yes, or why you want to work with Dr. Smith. And give them those 10 reasons, especially in this room. You're all board certified, you're skilled to the hilt, you have experience, and answer those logical questions. Why would she say yes to you? That's really good. Give her the answers, write in writing. Do the FAQs. What I find is you put that menu of services in there, she didn't ask about your menu of services. A patient doesn't call and say, you know what, I'm thinking about looking better and feeling better, so what do you got? What did they call about? They said, can you tell me more about liposuction? Can you tell me more about an eyelid lift? Give her the FAQs on what she asked for. I think it's a disservice, and you're not hearing the patient. If you just give her that menu, you didn't hear her. If you give her liposuction FAQs when she asks for liposuction FAQs, that makes sense. Just like being on a website. You realize none of this is different. The platforms keep changing, but the fundamentals do not. So give her what she wanted, and then add more later if you'd like. But right now, she asked for one thing, give her the one thing. Give the before and after photos, show some of your great work. And it's very helpful. If you can hear that the woman is much older and she's asking about a bleph, put those kind of pictures in there, the older woman. If you hear it's a young girl looking for lipo, put those kind of pictures in there. And I realize you haven't met them yet, but try to match their demographics with your photos. Before and after patient stories. And patient stories are not testimonials. Patient stories are, this is how I was feeling. This is why I chose Dr. Smith. Again, that logical reason why I chose him is probably why you want to choose him. What he did for me and how I feel about myself now. That's a good patient story. Patients are, and that's why Yelp is so popular. That's why reviews are so popular. They don't want to hear it from you. They want to hear it from the other patients. So in a story format, we hear that better. Yelp reviews, you might as well throw that in. It's happening now anyway. So if you are getting reviews, go ahead and have a really good list of those and add them in. And maybe that'll keep them from going to Yelp to see that one bad review, you know. Put in your forms. The more you can get them to interact with you and encourage them to go the next step, you can put in your forms ahead of time. I have to tell you, as a patient, when I have a new first appointment and they hand me those 5 sheets, I tell you, I'm smoother. And I would give them the forms ahead of time so when they enter, they've already got those filled out, because it stops the whole dialogue if you think about it. When they walk in, oh, here's 20 minutes of paperwork for you. And then what to expect. We talked about that yesterday, directions. You know what I got? The pearl I heard yesterday, I don't know if you heard it, take a photo of your office and put that in the packet. I thought that was really good because you know when you're looking for a new place, you're like, where is this place? That was a good one. So anything you can do to explain who you are, what they can expect, and why you is important. Now you're going to say, why am I going to bother doing this? That's expensive. Maria Olson's are $5 a pack. Ours are probably $10 a pack. But wouldn't you spend all day long, wouldn't you spend $10 to get a $5,000, $10,000 procedure? That's pretty good. There's your marketing and advertising rather than some of this other stuff. This is a good place to put your money. So why bother? It differentiates you. You know why? Nobody's doing it. We used to call offices all the time and have them send us their information. I would say 60% of the time we got the old ASPS brochure with their business card in a number 10 envelope. Now guess what happened? Everybody sent that. that didn't help. Or we've had people put just their business card in a number 10 envelope. It's like, really? That's what you got? Okay. And then we would have like 1 out of a dozen, 1 out of a dozen please, 1 out of 100 would do it, would do the shock and awe package. But they still didn't do it right. They were still just loading that thing up. It was all about me. I'm brilliant and I'm famous, and that's all good, but that's not enough. It was much more about the patient. Why are you going to be great for me? And so if you can put both in there, that's helpful. It also decreases no-shows. If you think about it and you get a big package in the mail and it's good, what are the chances of you not showing up? Like, that just elevated you in the mind of the patient big time. They're like, whoa, these people are serious. And what else did it do? It stopped a lot of the price shopping, because they know you're not filling around. Like, you're the real deal. You are professional. You got your processes down. You're showing them quality materials. That really sets the price in motion. It educates the patient, and it really sets the tone for a much more professional. This will take care of looky-loos. A looky-loo, this silly looky-loo person, they'll be scared of this, because it shows you're professional, you're serious about them, you're serious about what you do for them, and it's different. So here's the first visit. Have you ever walked into anywhere, a restaurant, a doctor's office, a salon, and nobody looks up? Have you ever seen that? And nobody acknowledges you? What's wrong with that? The very reason the aesthetic patient is in to see you is because they don't feel like they matter. And what did you just do? You just reinforced, you don't matter. God, that's so wrong. So if you would just look up when somebody enters, and if you say, well, I don't know, I can't hear them, I'm in the back, have a little bell. I mean, for God's sakes, this is when the show starts. And it's not just, hi. What do you mean, hi? It's, welcome, Sarah, we've been expecting you. That right there will differentiate you from everybody. Can you imagine you walk in and they say, hi, Sarah, we've been expecting you. How special do you feel? It's the little things, I swear, it's the little things. So educate in the reception area. And when I say educate here, you've already educated a lot in your package, and it was all about the procedure, the doctor, all of that. Now we're in the educating in the reception area, and this is called, I call it like what the patients are saying. This is the time where you offer them coffee and tea, and you have your beautiful album that says what our patients are saying. And you have a patient survey, or however you get this information, and it's all about the patient saying, this is what I had done. And actually, I'll tell you where I got this idea. Many years ago, there was a brand new plastic surgeon, and he had done about 70 surgeries. So he needed some social proof. He was new, he was great, but he was new. And we started sending out this survey, very simple. As a matter of fact, we handed it to them, and then they would mail it back or fax it back. And it was just 5 questions. And it was something like, how'd you find, or how did you pick us, or how'd you find us, what did you have done, how do you feel about it, out of a scale 1 to 10, would you do something else again, something like that. And then there were free flow comments. And he was so good, he had good bedside manner is how that helped. And they would send these things in like crazy, and we had an album, seriously, a thick 5-inch album that we would have the patients sit down and peruse. And of course, there were no People magazines, because they need to read this. And it was amazing, it was magical, watching a patient looking at this before they meet a doctor, going, wow, this guy's good. The patients love him. So that's that. The next step is the patient care coordinator comes out to do the greeting, and a transition happens. This is so important. I think the patient care coordinator is just vital. Everyone's vital. Everyone's vital. But this is important. She needs to start that bonding if she hasn't already, which frankly I think she should have. I think she should have already had phone time. I think she should have confirmed the call herself. The more points of contact we have with somebody, the more comfortable we feel with them. Isn't that right? If you keep seeing, heck, I'm feeling more comfortable. I've talked to you now 4 times. So anytime you can just keep doing something and seeing the same people, it becomes familiar. So they become your patient advocate throughout this whole process. They build the rapport and the trust, and their whole goal is to make that patient feel more comfortable, and she's their advisor. She becomes the aesthetic advisor in the practice with the patient. So it's kind of like she and the patient kind of hang out together and watch the practice together. So she is the buffer needed, and I can't stress that enough. The doctors who do not have this buffer, I think that they're hogtied, is that the word? You know, you're at a disservice because the patient needs somebody between you and them, and that's the patient care coordinator. So what's another really big objective of hers? It's to build you up prior to you even meeting this patient. Because what we're trying to do here is increase your conversion rates quickly. And how do we do that? We're trying to get her to feel like she knows you before she's even met you. So the patient care coordinator transitions, says, it's so great to finally meet you, Sarah. We've been talking on the phone. It's great to finally meet you. And she escorts her through the office, and they happen to wander by the Wall of Fame. And the Wall of Fame is whatever you want it to be. But it could be framed patient letters, pictures with you with the patients, with a testimonial, not a testimonial, patient story, celebrity photos. If you happen to live in LA, actually, human beings love celebrities. Are we obsessed with celebrities? If you happen to have a celebrity, and it doesn't have to be Oprah, it could be just somebody local that's really well known, put them up there, PR pieces, pro bono activities, because we all love to know that you're more than just a surgeon. You're actually a family man, a community leader, an active person within your world, and it just helps give you a bigger dimension than you're just that. Then you want to impress in the buffer room. Do you all have a buffer room? Anybody have one? Show of hands. This is important, I believe. What happens is you have a tendency to lead them straight to an exam room, right? What's wrong with that? This is my new analogy. It would be like you visiting me. You're my friend, you visit me, and we go to my bathroom. Right? Why are we going there? You know, like, wouldn't we go to the living room where it's more comfortable? I mean, I'm not going to bond with you if I'm in the bathroom. I'm going to bond with you in the living room, or I guess the kitchen. But the point would be, if you take somebody, now think about the patient. They just met you, they don't know you from Adam, and you're going to send them to the exam room, and you're going to tell them to put on the robe probably. You're like, that's tough, you know, they're not ready yet. I love a buffer room, and you call it what you want. I call it buffer room. And here, now we're going to do a little more promoting of the doctor, and if you've noticed, no one's selling anything. These tools are doing all the selling or promoting or whatever that word is that you don't like. It's doing it for you automatically without you saying it for them. So here come the frame degrees, the welcome video. If you don't have a welcome video, I'm thinking that would be a good idea to get one. And you can have, nowadays, you can go to Craigslist, get a videographer who knows how to edit tape. He can come, he or she, so it's a he or she, can come to your office, videotape you, videotape the staff, put together a really cool montage of meet the doctor, but it's in, you know, video form. And have a 3D of the video procedure. I'm sure you've all heard of those 3D animation about the procedure. That's pretty cool. It shows your high tech, it shows your, you know, what's happening in the world. I really like, and by the way, the welcome video, it should have a close-up of you talking right at the patient saying, welcome. Welcome to my practice. I'm here to help you look great, feel great, whatever those words are that are emotional. I want you to be comfortable being here in my practice. I hope my staff is taking good care of you. I'll see you soon. Please don't hesitate. We're having a conversation. Please don't hesitate to share with me your questions and your concerns so we can together come up with a good solution. That right there, that message that you just did, there's a good chance you're not going to say that regularly. Most of us don't talk like that regularly. I'm here to, you know, hear your concerns. So if the video, if you could do it once on the video and make it look really sincere and cool, that's a great idea. By the way, do any of you know Robert Kotler? He's a facial plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills. Go to his website. I think it's kotlermd.com. He does a great job of this. It's as sincere as can be. it looks like he's being interviewed. That's another good way to do it. Look like you're being interviewed, because then the patient's like, wow, he was interviewed. So that's got another little, it's all these little details, because the aesthetic patient, if you think about it, and especially if they're price shopping, they're looking for clues. They're trying to figure out, is you or you or you or you or you? All of these little clues add up, good or bad. Then it's time to bond. The patient care coordinator, and I know you've had a lot of this already, but the three I always, if you can't remember any more, just do these three. Use their name often, use commonalities, stay out of politics, sex, and all that. Just stay with the normal stuff. Who does your hair? Who you dating? Maybe not even that. Who does your hair? That's a safe one. And then the mirroring, for all that. If I talk fast, you should talk fast. If I talk slow, which I'll never do, you should talk slow. If the patient's going like this, you're trying to mirror that patient, because people like people that they're like. Like people who feel like they act alike, they look alike, they just have a tendency to gravitate to that. So there's a good chance you two don't look anything alike. So that's why mirroring is important. You're trying to mirror their mannerisms, and then they'll feel like, wow, she really understands me. This is important to ask, listen, and learn, and always open-ended questions, never a yes or no question, always a what can we do for you? And you already know what she can do for you, but the more she says it, the more she's going to solidify that in her head, and have her explain why. Not just, I want a facelift. Why do you want one? What's up? What's going on in your life? And let her talk, because I'll give you a story. There was a PCC who was talking with a patient, or a prospective patient, and the patient was like really giving her all the good signs, but didn't know what was going on, and the PCC was smart enough to be quiet, ask the question and be quiet. You know what the backstory was? The woman found out, the prospective patient found out her husband was going to divorce her, and she had a $20,000 limit on her credit card. And she needed to hurry up and spend that money before he shot it down. And I know that's not a great story, but wouldn't you like to know that? There was nothing about price involved in that. As long as it wasn't more than $20,000, she was good. And that kind of stuff you'll never hear. There's no way she would have shared that story with a doctor. She's going to share it with her patient advocate friend in the office. So other things, how long has it been bothering you? Has anyone else had this done? This is where the logical part's going to come in, and the beliefs that we think we know something. If you find out that her sister had this done 10 years ago and almost died, or she had an awful experience or a good experience, find that out now. You need to nip it in the bud if it's misinformation, or if things have changed and times have changed. If that's a concern of hers in her head, try to get that now, because you don't want to hear that later, or you don't want to hear, I'll think about it. Because that's why she's saying, I think about it. Something got stuck somewhere, and this could have been it. And then verbal cheerleading. I call this verbal cheerleading. It's keep reassuring the patient that they're making a good decision, they're in the right place, and it's simple things like, Karen, that's one of our most popular procedures. By the way, Dr. Smith performed more than 500 of them with great results. Now, what did you just do there? You reinforce that she's making a great decision. Everybody else has done it, and that's what we are. We're sheeple. If you did it, I'll do it. That's why when you're in an elevator, have you ever noticed, they do tests on this. If you turn around in an elevator, people just start squirming and start turning, or when you look up in the sky, doesn't everyone look up in the sky? So use that to your advantage. And what else did you do? She's just said 500 other people have had great results. That was a good testimonial without saying it. And then share your story. You're the best walking, talking testimonial in the world. Nobody can dispute when you're standing in front of a human being, another person who said, I had that done, let me tell you about it. She can see it. Nothing gets more tangible than that. So if you have had something done, well, Sue, I can tell you, I've had it done and I couldn't be happier. You become much more than an advocate at that point. You become their advisor. That's how you build trust and credibility. And then you might as well qualify the competition. In this stage, there's a really good chance you're up against somebody else. Let's just be real about this. So why not find out? Simple conversational question. So Sally, have you talked to anyone else? If so, what can I tell you that you don't already know? I'll tell you why that's important. Because you need them to tell you what their experience was like at that other office. And they'll tell you things like, I don't know, I'm just, you know what, I didn't care for his staff, or I just didn't connect with him. You want to hear that because you're going to fix it for your turn. And then things like, what are you basing your decision on? You know, so you're gonna go see a bunch of people, so how are you gonna know what to decide on? And I guarantee it's not all price. In the book, you know, download my book. It was probably third. You know what was the most important? The credentials and the skills. But you know why they're saying that? Because they don't want to regret a bad decision. They're saying skills and credentials because they want to know, God, do you know what you're doing? Like, am I going to like this? And then position the physician. That's my catchy. Thank you, Tracy. We're back to logic now. If you think about it from the perspective of the patient, she probably has somebody in her life, a spouse, a family member, who says, don't even think about that. Don't be silly. And it's usually somebody who's 20 or 30 saying that to them, you know? So why not get some logic in this? Because they have to go back and explain why they chose you so they can get off of why they're going to do it, you know? They'd rather just talk about who they're going to have it done. So give them those stats. Give them something. You did special training. It turns out you have performed hundreds of these. Another good tip, have you all added up all the surgical procedures you've done in your career? It's impressive. A patient wants to know they're not number 3, you know? They want to be number 3,568. You're the official physician to the local something. And this is really helpful. And in days when real estate was booming, if you could have become the official physician to the local realtors, that would have been a good one. That's why I left it blank. I don't know, whatever it is in your community, if you could become that official doctor or even unofficial, or you're the awarded top doc in your community, it's just give them some logic that they could take back with them. And then now it's time to transition. So now the patient care coordinator and you huddle, and I hope that is the most important team going. The PCC and the doctor and the pass-off. That's where she says, this is what she wants. Don't push her. She's already said the other guy pushed her. She's getting married. She's getting divorced. Why we're doing this? I think from 1 to 10, I think she's at an 8, ready to say yes. Here's what her concerns were, and just give him or her, the doctor, give him a quick recap of what to stay away from and what to repeat. So there's a transition. Here comes the doctor. One of the things I find, and the patients kept saying it, I didn't feel a connection with the doctor. It felt very uncomfortable. Not unfriendly, just uncomfortable. If you could just do this as a physician, use the patient's name. Patients love to hear our name. Do you know they do studies on that? You know when you're in the airport and you can't hear anything, but boy, can you hear your name? There's something called a technical word for that. Look her in the eye. So many of the patients said, he never looked at me. He just never looked at me. That's important because what are we back to? I don't feel special. I don't feel like I matter. Just smile, look her in the eye, and you have to touch her somehow. Not inappropriately. Shake hands, you know. You got to stay, neck up, Introduce yourself and shake hands. I love when a doctor is humble enough to introduce themselves. Of course she knows who you are. She just went through a montage of who you are. But when you are humble and say, I'm Dr. Smith, how are you doing? That's golden, Nobody wants to feel that they're so big. I know there are 2 approaches to this. You're bigger than God, or you're big but you're nice enough or still respectful enough to acknowledge the person you're standing in front of. Because this is it. The patient has got to feel special. She has to feel heard, understood, and important. Because a woman for sure is going to use her intuition. She's going to use logic, she's going to use a ton of emotion, and then she's going to go to her 6th sense, and that's her intuition. And her intuition is going to piece together all these little details and say, I don't know, or this is feeling good. Ask and listen. The doctors, again, are there many doctors in the room? Okay, this is helpful. Again, eye contact, nodding is good. I love when a doctor takes notes. I think it shows, especially if you're bored or you've been through this 4 billion times. If you think about it, they've been through it once. Let them talk. Let them tell you what they need to tell you. And I love when people take notes. It's like, wow, I'm so important. They're actually writing things down. Don't interrupt. I know this is a tough one. Just zip it. They need to talk. If the more, in sales for sure, the person who talks the most usually, I shouldn't say loses, but you'll hear a lot more if you're not talking. You'll understand the patient's thought processes better, and then it just shows respect. You want to educate the patient. You know, we all have these three things. Some of us like to see things because we're more visual. Some of us need to hear things because we're more auditory. And some of us just want to touch things because we're more kinesthetic. Now, we all have all three of these, but one usually dominates. But you're not going to figure all that out in 10 minutes. So just have all three of them. Let them see things like your testimonial books, like your patient stories. Let them hear patients in patient videos. And by the way, if you're not doing patient videos, I think you should. Let them touch things. If you're doing breast implants, let them touch those. If you're doing facial implants, anything that they could possibly touch, your welcome package or your shock and awe, anything that they can touch is helpful. So as more they can interact with you using all of their senses, the better off you are. And then manage expectations. I have 2 tips on managing expectations, because this is a tough one. How about the worst case, best case, worst case scenario? Do you use that one? When she says, how long is the downtime going to be? Now, you already know she's talked to the PCC about it. She's seen it. She knows already, but she wants some consistency. So make sure, by the way, make sure everyone's scripted and they have the same answers throughout each step of the process. I've been in offices, I asked 3 people, how long does Botox last? And I got 3 different answers. Everyone get on the same page with that. So in this point, let's say you say, how long is the downtime? And you say, here's the best case scenario, Sarah. Best case is you're out for a week. Worst case, it could go on, I don't know, 8 to 10 days. How's that? At least when you've done that, you've given her a straight answer. She's going to hope that it's 5 days, but she's not going to be surprised if it was 8 to 10. Same thing with the 4 out of 5. Remember that old toothpaste commercial? 4 out of 5 dentists recommend, isn't that funny? I can't remember who with the toothpaste. Well, that didn't work very well, but I did remember the 4 out of 5. Because if you think about it, if you say to a patient, well, you know what, 4 out of 5 of my patients return within a week, at least, and I know she's agreed to everything, but she's, you know how we are, they're yes, 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 I understand all of the, you know, things that could go wrong. But when you have said 4 out of 5, she will remember that. She'll say, well, he did tell me, you know, 4 out of 5. So I think those are very helpful for that. And then reassure the patient. She is looking for reassurance that you are the right choice for her. And this is where you do want some confidence. I did work for a doctor. We were doing consulting. His conversion rates were not great. And we finally had a meeting, and I said to the PCC, what's going on? And she said, honestly, he's doing a great job. Everything's great. When we get to the part where he's supposed to say, Sarah, you're a perfect candidate for this procedure, he just wouldn't. He just stopped, and he just said, okay, thanks, and walked out. We had a meeting with the doctor, and he said, I don't want to sell anybody. I don't want to feel like I'm selling. I don't want to push anybody, and I get that. But I'll tell you what, from the patient's perspective, that showed that you didn't have confidence. So there's a fine line there between being humble, not selling, and then being confident and reassuring her that absolutely you're a great, and I love that, you're a perfect candidate for this procedure. That gives the patient, you know, confidence that they're right for this. And then a closing statement. Prepare some type of a closing statement, because now we're transitioning again. And it's something like, from the doctor, it was great to meet you, Sally. Sarah can fill you in on all the details of scheduling and financing, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. So whatever it is for you, just pick a statement. That'll be your transitional statement. And now it goes back to the PCC. This is really important. She gets feedback. This is time, we're back to bonding. I personally would be back in that buffer room, just hanging out, having coffee. And so, what'd you think about Dr. Smith? Because if you think about it, you have really set the stage pretty big. And then if you've gone through the process pretty well, you should be in pretty good shape right now. But you want to know. So, what do you think about Dr. Smith? Did Dr. Smith answer all your questions? How are you feeling about this? I like that question a lot. Feeling, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're feeling. So how are you feeling about all this? And then zip it and let them tell you. When you're preparing a quote, don't let them sit there doing nothing. This is pivotal that they stay engaged. Personally, I would have mirrors everywhere, because you want them to continually reinforce why they're here. Magnifying mirrors are always a good idea. I would run a PC. I would run a PC with patient stories, reiterating why these patients did what they did, how happy they are that they were here. I would keep them so engaged because we're going to get into numbers, and this is where the rubber hits the road, and here comes that cost-benefit analysis. Oh my God, is this going to be worth the time, the money, and the hassle? And then you present the quote. When you present a quote, you always talk as if. And this is a good tip because I know a lot of you are not talking like this. You just factually give the quote. Here's what you do. Add some more verbal cheerleading and break things down. So, Sarah, let me just go ahead and give you, all the pieces to this. First, I have some really good wording for this, but I don't, the doctor's fees are going to be $3,000. And then we're going to have Dr. Charles. He's our anesthetician. He's absolutely fantastic. Everyone loves him. We've worked with him for years. And his fees are going to be like another $1,900. And then we have the OR fees, and you're going to love this OR. It's brand new. It's private, very comfortable, and it's just lovely. And that will be another blah, blah, blah. And so what you're trying to do is act as if. So when you do check in, so when you do have this done, it's a little psychology there to say, you've agreed that she's going to do this, so the patient's like, okay, well then maybe I'll do that. And then break down pricing to the least amount. And you know why I like to break down pricing? Because when you do hit that, like when you say, and it's all going to be $8,000, there's nowhere to go with that. So I would prefer to give them the whole enchilada and then let them pull it apart if they want to. And then get buy-in. You have to keep asking questions. Because if they're not looking at you and they're fumbling around, something's not right, you want to know, how does that sound, Sally? Are you with me? Does this make sense to you? What do you think about this? Because if you're getting good vibes, keep going. If you're not, you need to find out what's going on. And you also need to ask for a decision. And so this is where we lose so much of this. Because think about the patient. Think about when you buy. Don't you want some professional prodding? You don't want someone selling you. You don't want someone pushing you. But don't you want them to, ask? I guarantee you do. Think about how you buy. Asking for a decision is as simple as asking. So let's do it. Now, think about it. You've earned the right to ask. You're not pushing anything. You've earned the right. You sent the shock and awe package. Your receptionist was right on. Your staff was fantastic. Your PCC is her best friend. Not her best friend, her good friend. Not her best friend, though. You don't need to be that close. You showed her all the social proof she needs. She's had a great consultation with the doctor. You've done what you can do, and you've earned the right to ask. So here are a couple ideas. You can give her the reassurance approach, and it goes like this. Sarah, you'll be in excellent hands. Dr. Smith is one of the most respected surgeons in this area, and he's even trained other physicians to perform this procedure. Shall we go ahead and schedule it? I can get you in next Friday, or would you prefer to wait until next month? That is very simple to say. It's logical. You have earned the right to say that, and now she'll tell you, I'm not ready yet, or I am ready. Here's another one. Human nature is we love what we can't have, don't we? Especially when you were dating, or if you are dating and two guys were after you. Isn't that great? And then everybody wanted you, so that's how we are. We want what we can't have. So use that to your advantage. So here's an idea. Sally, just so you know, Dr. Smith is very popular, and he's typically booked out 3 to 4 weeks. However, I see 2 surgery dates are still available this month. Are you interested? That's good. If there's some resistance, and you'll know when there's resistance, and you know it when you're not clicking. You know they're not looking at you, they're fiddling around, they're looking uncomfortable, they're squirming. Ask more questions. And here's a simple one. Be curious. And frankly, I'm a little pragmatic. Just ask them. Connie, I see you're hesitant. What is it? Maybe I can help you. A woman to a woman, we're pretty good at this kind of stuff. It comes pretty innately, or it does to me anyway. I'd be curious. Connie, I can see you're hesitant. Just tell me. A lot of times that brings the barrier down so fast, and she says, I got to tell you, I'm concerned about this general anesthesia. I've just heard too many wacky things about it. Wouldn't you like to know that? Because now you can address it and keep going. You also want to handle all objections. Quite often, a patient's going to say to you things like, I don't know, I'm going to think about it. I don't know, I'm not sure. But she won't tell you exactly what it is. Or she'll tell you one thing like, I don't know about the general anesthesia. That might not have been her real objection. But she thinks that'll get you, off the hook and she can leave now. a really good question is there anything else? Is there anything else that's bothering you? This is the time to find out, because once she says, well, I also am a little concerned that I didn't want to go to a surgery center 40 miles away. I wanted to stay local. And then, is there anything else? No, that's it. I just was a little worried about the general anesthesia in the surgery center. You got it. Just address those two things, and you should ask for the decision again. It can often be that logical and that simple. If she says, I want to shop around, she feels like, you were her first. You know how you hate to be the first out of the 3 or the 5, because then you're like, oh, great. Although in this case, I will say, you don't care what number you're in, because if you did it this way, you're so way above everyone else. Nobody else did the shock and awe. Nobody else did the good, planned, scripted patient visit. So you're already well above everyone. But you could say, Sarah, we're competitively priced with the other board-certified plastic surgeons in the area who have similar amounts of experience. What you've said there is, you're board certified, because you never want to backtalk competitors, ever. It will put you in a very bad light with the patient who's shopping. You don't need to diss anyone else. You just focus on how brilliant you are, but you have little things that you're throwing in, like, we're competitively priced, which means you don't need to shop around. We're competitively priced with others who are our level. That's good. That's almost like, that's saying a lot there, actually. And then make a small concession. Let's be real. This Groupon business, we had a talk, we all at the talk last night. This Groupon thing is going to drive everyone nuts. There are all these discounts and all this stuff going on. Here's the deal. We are humans. We all love a good deal, don't we? We all love a good deal. But you don't want to discount your stuff. You just don't. You can't go anywhere with that. If they come for price, they'll leave for price, so don't go there. But you need a hybrid. Give them something. Everybody I know wants a little something. So here's a simple thing you could do. Connie, Dr. Smith doesn't drop his prices, but what if I could persuade him to remove those 3 moles that bother you at no charge while you're in surgery? How does that sound? If you think about it, it's not about the moles. It's about, it could have been just that little to get her to go, thank you, that's all I wanted. If you can work with the patient and make them feel like they got a fair price, they got a good price, and you made them feel special because you're not all about the money. You were actually willing to do a little something, but you didn't do it. The physician, the PCC, did a favor with the patient. It's got some good psychology in that. So in conclusion, you want to pre-promote, because that's how you convert much better. You need logical and emotion in your processes, and you get good at the fundamentals of a patient experience. Now, I know this was a ton here. Everyone has different ways to do it. We do offer, tools to help you with that. They happen to be special here at the meeting. I have a booth out there. All of this is taught. If any of you think, I'm not good at this stuff, this is too professional, this is too salesy, I don't know anything about this. I didn't know anything about this either. How did I learn? I studied, I practiced, and I decided to get good at this. So get the right tools, get the right words, get the scripts down, get your processes in place. I find that practices who have their processes down just have a nice, well-oiled machine, and it's just smooth. You can tell when you're in an office that doesn't know what's going on, or they don't have the step-by-step. The patient feels it, and that's why the conversions aren't as good as they used to be. One of the reasons. And then again, here's my book. In my book, I actually have a whole section on the physician's consultation with the patient, and it's pretty detailed, so you can always have a download of that. And you know what? I am doing well. I have 8 minutes left, so if anybody has any comments, yeah. The question is, should you send out your shock and awe in the mail or an email? I'll say this, mail's always better, it's always better because they've got something to touch, hold, feel. However, let's say they were in a super big hurry, the woman with the $20,000 limit, she needs to get in soon. You can fast track it and set up, you know how you take all the pieces you have, you get your graphic designer to do PDFs, you just line up the PDFs and stream them. Do not send them 5 attachments. That's not for the patient perspective. She'll be like, are you kidding me? I'm not downloading 5 things. Give her 1 PDF streamed file. When you email her, now you have her email, she just clicks on the link and boom, here it is. That's better than nothing. And it's way more than anyone else is doing. Yeah? I'll tell you what I have learned. They want to bond with somebody above and beyond all of them. I was in an office where I got to sit still, but then I met all these people. Like all these new people kept coming to me. So they kind of had it right, but I never got to bond with anybody, because first I got this girl who talked about skin. Then I got this girl who talked about what to expect, with the doctor. Then I got it was the weirdest thing. I thought, I'm not connecting with anybody here because you got 3 people in front of me. And when you I love the PCC. It's a patient advocate. She wants somebody to hang out with. So I highly recommend pick somebody. Or you know what? Let's say your PCC is so busy she can't be everything to everybody. Honestly, pick somebody, pick a couple of them, and tag off. It's much more important that you figure that out and let her be a friend to somebody. You know what else is nice about having a tag team, 2 of you? If you're not bonding well with somebody, maybe somebody else would. So and again, this is learning. This is a skill, a learned skill. Nobody is born good at this. Trust me, they're born with good people skills, I'll give you that. But otherwise, this is all learned. So when you say, oh no, we can only have one PC that knows all this, trust me, it's not that big of a deal if you actually set it up and think about it. Did that answer the question? Okay. Yeah. I think I made this up. This is the thing. This is my deal. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're profitable. I'm not a big proponent of this. I know people. I know my own staff who's younger. They Groupon all day. Everything's a Groupon now. If they want to get their hair done, they wait for the next hair Groupon. They want self-tanning, they wait for that. As a matter of fact, my own graphic designer went to a plastic surgeon. I won't say who it is. He had a Groupon for, I don't remember, and she went in, and I said, so? And then she told me later, I'm like, what are you talking about? Do you know who we are? Why would you do that? And she said, I didn't even think to ask. And anyway, it turns out, of course she went. And is she going back? No, she's going to wait for the next one. So I just don't think that's a strategy. I think it's a tactic. I think it's a distraction. I think you're going to hurt the foundation of your practice. But it's so enticing, isn't it? It's so sexy when you get 600 people. But who are those 600 people? I'm all about quality instead of quantity in this day and age. I'm going with quality. I would rather you get good at the fundamentals because you know why you have to do all this? Because they're a bunch of strangers. If you want a bunch of strangers in your office, then you got to even do this more because they really don't know who you are. So I'm not a big proponent. And I think it's a fad like everything else. Thank you. Anyone else? 4 minutes? Okay, thanks everybody. I really appreciate it.